Hey, beautiful. We're going to get into the good stuff right away. And I'm going to tell you how this natural plant bee works to help you bring on a bleed. If there's been any kind of little oopsie in your cycle, in your contraception method. But first, I'll quickly introduce myself if you don't know who I am. My name is Emily. I'm a certified fertility awareness educator. This means that I teach people how to chart their cycles to avoid pregnancy in the first place with a method that is way more reliable than counting days or using rhythm method kind of thinking, or even paying for like the fanciest app available that claims to be reliable for birth control. So, a really quick review before we dive into everything, because we need to know how our fertile wave works, where we're at in our cycle, so we can know if it's the right time to take plant B Queen Anne's lace to avoid pregnancy. So, if you take a look here, a little review or maybe a brand new introduction for you, how exciting is that we have the start of our cycle, the days that we bleed, our period. And then for most people, there's going to be a handful of days in a regular cycle that you're not fertile, that pregnancy is impossible. And then something's going to change in your body. You're going to start producing this fertile fluid called cervical mucus, and there's going to be an increase in that cervical mucus production right up until the moment of ovulation. And then after you ovulate, we have a nice safe buffer of an extra 3 days that we consider ourselves fertile. And we call this time our fertile wave. So by checking for our cervical mucus that you can see here in this video, we can have daily in the moment feedback about whether we should be considering ourselves fertile or not. And we're not just relying on past cycle data to try to guess and predict what's happening today. We're able to have a deep embodied relationship with our vulva by checking for our cervical mucus daily whenever we're just using the toilet paper that we have in our bathroom, anyways, when we're using the toilet. We also take our waking temperature in the morning. And the reason we do this is because you can look here and see that after you ovulate, the temperature jumps up. So between these two pieces of information, your cervical mucus and your basal body temperature, we have really reliable information, daily feedback in the moment about whether we should be considering ourselves fertile or not in our fertile wave. Outside of days 11 to 19 here, pregnancy is impossible. This person could not get pregnant outside of the days of this during their cycle. Now, this is important base information here because what we need to understand is that plan B and plant B do not work the same way. The way that plan B works is it delays ovulation. If ovulation hasn't occurred yet in this part of the cycle, so that any sperm that have accidentally gotten into your body during your fertile time won't meet an egg because the sperm are going to die off because of plan B's effectiveness of delaying ovulation by a handful of days. So that's how plan B works as a backup method. Maybe a condom broke. Maybe you wake up the next morning and you are really regretful of some risky behavior that you had. And you realize, oh my goodness, I was definitely in my fertile time. That's the best time to take a plan B if ovulation hasn't happened yet. If you take a plan B all the way over here, it's kind of pointless because there's no way that sperm could have been living inside your body anyways. And if you take a plan B right here, it's not going to work because it's too late. The egg was already launched. What I find interesting about plan B is so many people are taking it unnecessarily at ineffective times in their cycle because we don't know how our bodies work. And it's not your fault. We weren't taught anything about this. It's just really mind blowing to come into this awareness that for most of the cycle you're infertile, and that by learning to have this connection to your body, you can then have more confidence by knowing the times that pregnancy can happen, the times that pregnancy can't happen, and then knowing if taking a plan B is going to be worth it to help you avoid pregnancy by delaying ovulation. Little free tip over here, plan B is technically only effective if you weigh up to 155 pounds, but if you're like me, you weigh more than that. There's a different brand called Ella that you might be able to get at your local pharmacy that's more effective for up to 195 pounds. That also is really helpful for up to 5 days after any kind of accidental sperm exposure in your body if ovulation hasn't happened yet. If ovulation has happened, the plan B won't do anything. So, this is when we come into the power that happens after ovulation, where Queen Anne's lace or herbal allies could be effective. Much more specifically, way earlier on here, right after ovulation. So Queen Anne's lace, also called wild carrot seed, is such a beautiful herbal ally. Mm, her fragrance is sweet and her flavor is so beautiful that I could just like drink a whole bottle on the spot if I wanted to. But don't. That would be really, 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 really bad for you. Which gets us into the next part of this conversation, which is what's the good way to use Queen Anne's lace? If you had any kind of little oopsie, but you've just ovulated, you know it's too late to take a plan B. This is when you can call on nature's plant B to help you bring on a bleed. What Queen Anne's lace does to prevent pregnancy is it stops the stage in which a fertilized egg can implant. So it blocks implantation. Fertilization up here is when a sperm and an egg meet and the development of this follicle begins to bounce down the fallopian tube after conception. But what we can do is we can take Queen Anne's lace to make the uterus slippery so that implantation can't occur and that you just experience your normally timed menstruation. But something that's really important for you to know is that you can't use Queen Anne's lace on a regular basis. Using Queen Anne's lace all the time, every month after you ovulate, would be like using a plan B every single month during your fertile time. The reason that Queen Anne's lace is able to prevent implantation is because it suppresses your progesterone production. So, this idea we have that a natural option is more gentle or better for the body is absolutely not true, which is why if you haven't ovulated yet, don't be afraid to use a plan B. Plan B is in no way more harmful or worse for your body compared to the magic of Queen Anne's lace. Anytime you need to call on some backup form of something to help you avoid pregnancy, it's all about just accepting the fact that in order to do that, there has to be some kind of hormonal alteration in order to encourage the body to bleed rather than encourage the body to continue on with a pregnancy. The other thing about Queen Anne's lace and why we would never want to use it monthly is because our body is wise, our body is intelligent. If it gets a little bit of Queen Anne's lace for emergency use and suppresses your progesterone in order to not allow implantation, so you have your normally timed menstruation, after a few times doing this, your body's going to go, well, progesterone's really good for us. We definitely want to keep making that. So let's actually overcome and just start ignoring the messages of this tincture and keep making progesterone anyways, because that's what we want to do. That's what we're wired to do. In other words, your body will build up a resistance to Queen Anne's lace the more you use it. So just think to yourself, how often would you want to use a plan B? Like, let's hope not more than like a very rare occasion. It's the same with Queen Anne's lace. But the difference is that with herbal tinctures, they are a plant ally that are a living sentient being, meaning that there's a lot of power around creating a relationship with the tincture from your heart, from your soul. So sometimes this means just taking a microdose, literally one gorgeous drop on your tongue after every time that you confirm ovulation with your cycle tracking, so that you can just have this soul level connection to the plant so that when you need it in case of an emergency, it's going to be there to support you right after the days of ovulation. So I've got directions on the Queen Anne lace tincture that I sell that says 1 to 2 droplets up to 4 times a day if an oops occurred at ovulation. That's the key there, right? Not before ovulation, but at ovulation. And then there are other plants that you could always call on if it was a little bit later. These are called emmenagogues or abortifacients. These are plants that you could use at any point during the luteal phase to also support the body to bleed. And I'll have a different future video chatting with you all about that. So if you're keen to learn more, just check in the description below this video for when in the future I'm going to add that one up. It's not going to be up there right now if you're watching this right as I posted this video. But basically, if we just want to summarize everything that we've learned about this powerful plant, it's that body literacy is something that is absolutely foundational if you want to avoid pregnancy consciously. You cannot just swap out pills for plants and somehow think that you're doing the more gentle version of something just because it's a plant that comes from nature. The key is to make sure that you know when you're fertile and that you know when you're not for the most reliable way to avoid pregnancy. And then make sure that you have like a plan B in your medicine cabinet in case you ever need it. And also make sure that you have a Queen Anne's lace tincture on hand if you ever need it, because you're not going to be able to skip down the road and just pick up one of these like you would with a pill. One more thing I'll say about this that's really cool is that one little bottle of Queen Anne's lace like this could probably see you through 3 to 5 emergency situations where you need to call on her for help if you had some accidental sperm in your body, which is also just much more economically valuable compared to a single Plan B pill that is a one-time use. And then, well, you got to go to the store and buy another one. So I would love to hear in the comments below, what questions did this bring up for you? I'm so happy to expand this conversation. I'll either reply to the question right in the comment, or I will make a new video expanding on whatever came up.